Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another K24 FRS build video. In this video, we're going to be hooking up the fuel system, the header, the shift linkage, and work on the cooling system. So let's get started. So in this video, I think the first thing I'm going to tackle is the fuel system. Kpower wants you to use, there's 3 fuel lines, and the one they want you to use is the one that's closest to the front of the vehicle. So you will be tying this hose, essentially just a hose with a little 90-degree quick disconnect. The quick disconnects will go on your fuel, and this will go down there. The other 2 you can just take off and get rid of. These fuel lines are really hard to get off, by the way. You end up taking an X-Acto knife and cutting it just to get them out. But now that that's out of the way, I can put my new hose on. Like I said, put on the very forward one. The other end should just clip in back your fuel. Okay, for the other 2 lines, I just took the return line, cut it shorter, and just looped it. Or you can just plug them. You don't want debris or other things going down in there. Or you can just remove them altogether if you want. But I just decided to loop them in case I want to use one later. But now I get to do the circuit part and go down underneath the car where you can't see what I'm doing and plug one of the fuel lines. Where those 3 lines come off the fuel tank, I gotta plug one of them, which is gonna be down here. You probably won't be able to see it. Probably can't see, but this is the driver's side fuel tank. This is the front of it. There's 2 connectors, I think. I can't even see. But I'm probably just gonna do this and I'll show you when I'm done.
5 minutes later.
So it's really hard to see what I did, but I disconnected the fuel line that's closest to the fuel tank, the driver's side fuel tank. And you put a little plug that comes with the kit in one end. The other end, I just plugged up. I put a little hose on the end of it, and I plugged into the hose so nothing's getting inside of it. If you don't know, FRS's BLZs have 2 sets of injectors, which means it has 8 injectors getting supplied by 2 fuel lines. So, and you'll plug in one of those fuel lines up. That way the car's not sending fuel up that line to go to nowhere. So that's why you go back there and plug one of them up. Okay, now we need to go inside the car and find the fuel pump ECU, I think what it's called, and depin it, one of the wires I think, and I think you plug this in there, maybe? I wonder if my twin will let me in. Okay, now I'm cramped in the back seat. I took the passenger side wheel paneling off on the inside. Do it all in the boot. Took the seat out so I have a little more room, make it a little easier. And what we're looking for is this little guy here. That box. See, I already have it unplugged. It's probably be a little hard to explain, but what you want to do is pry this little plastic piece off. Then you're going to take your tool, depainting tool. You're going to go in here, and there's like a little white tab that you want to go in and pry up. You know, push the little tab up, then pull your wire back. easier if you cut some of the tape off, so you have more room to pull the wire out. But it's kind of a pain in the butt. Once you got all your wires depinned, you can start putting into the new connector. Like I said, they're all color coded. I got the red and the black in. I gotta slide the gray and the green in. So, need two of my hands to do this. Okay, once you got all four of your wires pinned, you can plug in this little jumper harness. And you should have two wires left. You can either tape them up and set them to the side, zip tie them, or do what I did, I put it back in this old connector. That way they're not arcing or touching each other or interfering with anything. They're not being used. Okay, I'm done in there for now. I am going to leave those panelings and stuff off until I know the car is running, everything's working right. Then I'll put that stuff back on. What should I do now? I'm going to be jumping back and forth between different things in this video. Might be all over the place. I think the next thing I'm going to do is hook up my shifter. Now, if you're running the stock shifter, then you'll need this plate. You gotta take the whole shifter assembly carriage out and put this in there and bolt your shifter to this. But since I have an aftermarket shifter, I don't have to do that. I just have to pin that little short shift linkage to the bottom of my shifter, and in theory, I should be good to go. Back underneath the car, I got my shifter linkage lined up with the bottom of my shifter, and I gotta put this little pin through it and put my little locking clip on it. Pretty straightforward. We had a little bit of a detour. I ended up having to take my shifter out. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do that, but the little pin does not want to go through the shifter. It's like getting stuck on something. I think there's like a little lock ring in there that's keeping this from going in. So I'm going to have to do something about that, drill it out or something. But since it's out, it kind of gives you a better visualization on why I don't have to use this, because the shifter comes with this plate already, and I have a little bit of adjustment in it to align with the new alignment of the shifter. I really didn't want to have to do it, but I took the big drill bit and I pretty much bored it out a little bit, so that will drop in now. Because before it wasn't going at all. But one good thing about taking this thing out, for this plate, you have the O2 sensor going through it. That's where the O2 sensor goes. This one doesn't have a hole, which means I need to make a hole. So I'm going to drill a hole here. I got this grommet, little pass-through grommet that will put in there. That way my O2 sensor can get in there and be hooked up. Okay, I got the shifter back in, and it would not go into reverse. So if I end up doing a lot of adjustment, you know, loosen up the engine, tranny, and just shifted things around, trying to get in the right place. But it ended up being the actual, you know, the shift linkage, the little stubby that comes with the Kpower kit. I had to turn it around. You know, if you remember back in the video where I installed it, I said I wasn't sure which direction it was supposed to be. Okay, I got the tiny little shift linkage on.
I think it's in the right direction.
And of course I had it backwards. So don't do what I did in that original video. It might be different if you're using the factory shifter, I don't know. But since I'm not, I can't tell you. You know, if you're using this thing, I'm sure it'll be a little bit different. I also had to adjust the little set screw in the side. So once I got reverse working, then I lost first and second. So I had to adjust that screw so it would go over to the driver's side a little bit more. Now everything works nice and smooth. So if things aren't working out for you, I recommend just loosen everything from this to trans, engine. You just have to play with it. I mean, to get things perfect in the right position. Yeah, I love this shifter, by the way. Feels great. What you want? Next on the agenda is my big aluminum one-piece drive shaft. Go throw it in. I want to make sure that goes in before the exhaust goes in, because that sits above it. So you always want to try to do things in order. What makes things the easiest. Not much to say about it. Then just put it in the trans first. Shove it in. Then install your 4 14mm bolts. And tighten them down. Okay, drive shaft's in. So now we can start working on this beautiful exhaust. See, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook this little mid-pipe portion of it and hook it up to the downpipe. That way I don't have to do it down there. And that is a 5/8 and a 9/16. So, not metric. Also make sure your O2 sensor bong is facing up direction. Bong, that's a funny word. Okay, before you send the header down in there, you want to make sure your O2 sensor is going through the hole in your shifter. Okay, before you mount the header to your head, I had it drop down a little bit. That way I can hook up my O2 sensor, because it's a lot easier to get a wrench on it down here. And also have my exhaust hanger on here and ready. Okay, the header has been giving me a hard time. Like the tolerance is like super tight. It's really hard to get all the bolts to go in. But I finally did it. And also, yeah, the fitment is terrible. It's actually touching the frame down there. So that's not good. It touches the frame over there. Even though I have the engine, tranny, everything pushed to the driver's side as much as possible. And this is my fault. I have a 2.5-inch exhaust. This is a 3-inch exhaust. I thought I had a 3-inch exhaust, but I was wrong. So these two do not match. So I bought like a little adapter. I'm not positive it's going to work or not, but I'm going to try it. But even though if it did work, the holes don't line up anyway. Like one's clockly different than the other, making it a little bit difficult. So that's something I'm going to have to figure out, fix. Or replace the exhaust, or add another piece of exhaust. Honestly, I've bought exhaust or headers from eBay with better fitment than that. That thing's way too expensive to fit like shit, so I'm not happy about that. Okay, I took the exhaust back out, took the transmat out, and I'm raising it as high as I can to get a little bit more access to that mount. That way I can just trim a little bit more off of it, because it's touching the trans. Okay, I got it grind down a little bit. I also took a little bit off the transmission, that little casting nub. Took a little bit off. I wasn't able to get too high up though. Get more. Also don't want to cut too much into my transmission. So I'm hoping that's enough. I don't have to do that, but I drilled the outer two to a, was it 31/64? Yeah, 31/64. That way I can get a little bit more clearance, because right now the clearance is so tight. It's a tight fit. Yeah, I got plenty of clearance now, so my hammering looked like it worked. So it's good. This one's going to be hard to see, but it is clearing. It is still kind of close, but hopefully it shouldn't touch when the car moves. So it's a lot better than it was. Okay, while I figure out my exhaust issue, decided I'm going to push on, do some other stuff. Went ahead and hooked up my oil cooler. This oil cooler is from my old engine and setup. Everything fits the K24, which is pretty awesome. I was able to keep that. The only thing I had to do was change the rotation. These were going that way through the engine bay. Now they're going the opposite direction. Everything fits. I didn't even take off the oil cooler. I need to clean up my mess I made a little. But now I can work on the coolant system. I need to start putting all my radiator in, core support and all that stuff. Start running my coolant lines so we can stay cool. Okay, for the cooling system, they recommend these two belts. That is your lower belt. This is your upper belt. Those are the numbers you need to use. Kit comes with all these clamps, 2 adapters. I think this stays on there. And for the lower hose, we're going to have to trim it around here somewhere. And adapt this hose to that hose. Okay, I got my coolant system all together. There's a quick recap. This piece, that piece is from the Frs BOZ. These two pieces are pieces that I bought and cut up. I was going to put this thermal wrap over that portion that goes close to the exhaust, but I didn't buy a wide enough diameter to fit. So I'm going to have to get something bigger to go over that. So the only things that's really left now is my intake, which should be fairly easy, straightforward, and the ECU stuff. But that portion might take a little time. I gotta dig underneath the dash, do a little bit more wiring, and hooking modules up, and also hooking up my computer to it, and download some software, uploading some stuff, and yeah. But let's get the intake on first before we mess with all that. So my intake, you gotta pull out the IAT sensor out of your old K-series engine. which is in this little rubber piece on the intake. So it was a lot harder than I was expecting. The thing didn't want to come out. And I actually ended up breaking the tip on this one. Luckily, I had two engines, and I thought I was going to break this one too. So be careful pulling this out. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to go ahead and order and buy one just to have. But that goes in this little hole. Okay, the final piece of the engine bay is on. A beautiful new intake, which is very tight fit here. I didn't think I was going to be able to screw that down, but I think it pretty much smashes it while you screw that down, so it's super tight. But that's pretty straightforward. Just a big coupling, 2 clamps. This plugs in there. 2 screw holes, 10 mils, and your filter. Of course, I went ahead and put this on. Now, even though I said I was going to wrap it, I went ahead and did wrap it. It doesn't completely cover all the way around like I wanted to, but I figured something is better than nothing. I can always replace a little. I think it'll be fine for now. And now all the inside bits. Well, I was going to go ahead and do the Haltech under the dash wiring ECU stuff in this video, but since I gotta wait on a part and figure out a few things, I'm going to cut it short. I did get a lot done in this video. I mean, essentially everything in the bay is done. Everything's put back together. Everything looks good. Other than stuff like oil. I need to put oil in the engine, some coolant, and trans fluid. So that stuff still has to be done. And of course, everything on the inside. So I need to dig underneath the dash. I don't know what that is. But I want to thank everybody who's been following along so far. I'm hoping these videos will help make your process a little bit easier of going through it. And seeing what issues I have will help you not have issues when you do it. So far it's been a good experience. Really the only big thing I'm really pissed off about really is the header. But everything's working fine so far. I guess I'll find out really when I actually start it. But if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and I'll catch you later. Peace out.